Have you ever walked away from a conversation questioning a decision you were completely certain about just minutes before? You entered that conversation with clarity, clear about your decision, clear about your values, clear about what you wanted. Then you left carrying a doubt that wasn't there before. So what changed? Probably not the evidence. Probably not the decision itself. The conversation changed. Most people believe manipulation begins the moment someone tells you what to think. It doesn't. The most effective manipulation rarely announces itself. It begins much earlier. When someone quietly changes the way you think, without ever asking you to abandon your beliefs. A single sentence. A carefully timed question. An observation that seems almost too ordinary to matter. That is often enough. Because words do more than communicate ideas. They determine what your mind pays attention to. And attention is never neutral. Whatever consistently captures it begins to shape your perception. And perception quietly shapes every decision that follows. That is why some conversations linger long after they have ended. Not because they were emotional, not because they were confrontational, but because they planted a single thought that your own mind continued to revisit, strengthen, and eventually accept as its own. This is the hidden language of manipulation. Not the obvious kind that demands control, the invisible kind that makes another person's influence feel like your own conclusion. Once you understand how that process works, ordinary conversations stop feeling ordinary. Because every conversation has two layers, the words being spoken, and the direction those words are quietly leading your mind. Most people hear the first. Very few learn to recognize the second. And that is where influence truly begins. Most people think manipulation is about making someone believe a lie. But the people who truly understand influence rarely begin with lies. They begin by changing what you notice. Imagine telling someone you're excited about a new opportunity. Instead of asking, "What excites you most?" they ask, "Have you thought about everything that could go wrong?" Nothing they said was false. Nothing they said was aggressive. Nothing sounded manipulative. Yet from that moment on, your attention quietly shifts. The opportunity hasn't changed. The facts remain exactly the same. Only the lens through which you're seeing them has changed. And that subtle shift is where influence begins. The human mind gives extraordinary weight to whatever it repeatedly notices. Attention is not simply awareness. It is a filter. And every filter reveals one part of reality while hiding another. Focus on possibility, and confidence naturally expands. Focus on uncertainty, and hesitation begins to feel like wisdom. Neither perspective is the whole truth, but whichever one occupies your attention becomes the reality your mind starts preparing for. This is why language is far more powerful than most people realize. The most influential sentence rarely changes reality. It changes which part of reality your mind treats as most important. That is what makes hidden manipulation so difficult to detect. It doesn't demand that you think differently. It quietly decides where your thinking begins, and wherever thought begins, its conclusions often follow. Long before someone changes your opinion, they have already changed what your mind considers worth examining. That is why influence is rarely won through force. It is won through attention. Because the person who consistently shapes what you notice often ends up shaping what you believe. This is why the most influential people are often the ones who speak the least. They understand that the human mind doesn't respond only to information. It responds to interpretation. The same sentence can comfort one person while quietly controlling another. Not because the words changed, but because of what those words invite the listener to believe. Imagine telling someone, "I don't think I'm comfortable with that." A healthy response sounds like this: "What makes you feel that way?" The question creates space. It seeks understanding before judgment, but someone trying to control the conversation often responds differently. "So you don't trust me?" Notice what just happened. Your boundary disappeared. The conversation is no longer about what made you uncomfortable. It's about defending your character. Without realizing it, you've stopped explaining your decision and started explaining yourself. That shift is rarely accidental. It works because the human mind is deeply motivated to protect its identity. People can tolerate having their opinions questioned. What feels far more threatening is having their character questioned. The moment your boundary is reframed as a flaw in who you are, your attention shifts from protecting yourself to repairing your image. And once guilt enters the conversation, clarity usually leaves it. This is the hidden language most people never learn to recognize. The words sound ordinary. The emotional direction is not. Manipulation rarely begins with commands. It begins with subtle redirection. One question, one implication, one emotional shortcut that quietly pulls the conversation away from the issue and toward your identity. The moment you stop listening only to the words and start asking where those words are leading you, you begin hearing conversations in an entirely different way, because influence isn't always hiding in what is being said. More often, it's hiding in what you're slowly being encouraged to believe about yourself. The difficult part is that manipulation doesn't always ask you to believe something false. Sometimes, it simply repeats the same idea until it begins to feel true. You're too sensitive. You always overthink. Nobody else has a problem with this. Heard once, they're just opinions. Heard often enough, they begin to sound like facts. This is one of the mind's quietest shortcuts. Psychologists call it the illusory truth effect. The more frequently we encounter an idea, the more familiar it becomes. And the brain often mistakes familiarity for accuracy, not because it has examined the evidence, but because repetition reduces the feeling of uncertainty. The statement becomes easier to process. And what feels mentally effortless often feels believable. That is why hidden manipulation is rarely built on a single conversation. It is built on patterns. One comment, one reaction, one carefully planted doubt, repeated so consistently that over time, you stop recognizing it as someone else's voice. Eventually, it becomes your own. That is the moment manipulation reaches its highest form. Not when another person changes your mind, but when you begin repeating their message without them being present. When their voice becomes your inner dialogue, they no longer need to influence you. Your own thoughts begin doing it for them. Perhaps the most important question is no longer, what did they say? It's, why did I start believing it? Because the moment you begin examining the beliefs you've quietly inherited, instead of automatically defending them, you become far more difficult to manipulate. Influence loses much of its power. The moment awareness replaces unconscious acceptance. Real freedom doesn't begin when people stop trying to shape your thinking. It begins the moment you recognize that they are. The hidden language of manipulation isn't hidden because it's impossible to see. It's hidden because most people are listening for the wrong thing. They listen to the words. Very few pay attention to what those words are trying to accomplish. And that changes everything. A conversation can sound respectful, while quietly making you feel guilty. It can sound compassionate, while slowly replacing confidence with self-doubt. It can sound supportive, while guiding you toward a decision that was never entirely your own. That is why awareness is more powerful than suspicion. Suspicion teaches you to distrust people. Awareness teaches you to understand influence. One closes the door to every conversation. The other allows you to enter conversations with your eyes open. Not every difficult question is manipulation. Not every disagreement conceals bad intentions. Sometimes people challenge us because they genuinely care. Sometimes they see something we've overlooked. The goal is not to become cynical. The goal is to become conscious, because every conversation leaves something behind. A belief, a doubt, a new perspective, or a version of yourself you didn't realize was beginning to take shape. The people who understand influence don't simply listen to what is being said. They pay equal attention to where those words are leading. So before you leave, ask yourself one question. The next time a conversation changes the way you feel, Will you remember only what was said? Or will you notice what your mind was quietly being encouraged to believe? If this documentary changed the way you think about everyday conversations, subscribe to Beyond Average. Because understanding people begins with understanding how influence really works. Think deeper. Go beyond average.